Hey, it's Yuka. This video is for my fellow creators who want to start using DaVinci Resolve to edit their videos, especially for creators in the US who have been using CapCut and want to move away from it just in case. Because what is happening? Like, is it banned? Is it not banned? Is it going to be banned? No one knows. And honestly, I just want to say it's a very stressful time for me personally. And I actually didn't feel like making anything for the past few days, but we have to keep creating and we have to keep having a voice. And we also have to keep having community. So this video is going to be like a little bit of me trying to contribute to the creator community in ways that I can. So anyways, why DaVinci Resolve? Over the years, I've used and sometimes still use other softwares like Premiere Pro and Final Cut. But the reason why I recommend DaVinci Resolve there's a couple. First one is that it's free. And there is a paid version, but the free version is free forever and has most of the functionality that most creators would ever need. Number two is that it's great for editing with other people or on multiple devices. This one might not be super applicable for smaller creators, but if you start to grow and want to hire someone to edit with you, DaVinci Resolve is the best out of all the three so far. And number three, it has a pretty decent iPad version. I made a video about the iPad version of DaVinci Resolve in the past, so I'll link that in the description and here as well. But it's pretty good if you want to use your iPad. And number four is that it has a super robust animation, color grading, audio mixing feature all in one app. And it's free. So it's a great way to get started on a professional editing software. I can go on and on, but these are probably my top 4 reasons I love using DaVinci Resolve over the other apps. Let's get into DaVinci Resolve and I'll show you from start to finish how I edit a video. When you first open DaVinci Resolve, you'll see this kind of window to select an existing project, or if you're just getting started, I think it'll be blank and you can create a new project. So let's create a new project here. You can title it anything and start from there. Once you enter here, I think you might be a little bit overwhelmed, but that's okay. Everything is pretty simple. If you go down here, there's many tabs here. As someone who is getting started, you just need to worry about the Edit tab and the Deliver tab. You will edit on the Edit tab and you will export your video on the Deliver tab. So everything else is kind of optional at this point. The first step is to organize your footage. Here is one of my recent vlogs that I did. I title everything with the year. It's like YYMM, and then the series, and then what the video is. Or if it's this one, for example, it's 2025, December, and it was about the Flow 2 Pro. And this one was a little bit more complicated, so I have more folders here where I organize the footage, the thumbnail, the vertical version, and the renders to have it checked with other people. For other vlogs, I usually have just a footage folder with all the footage, the thumbnails, and the exports just on the top of the folder. When I'm getting started on a project before editing, I will usually just have like a footage folder, and I'll just drop all the footage that I took for this project, and I will drag this into my project. And here you have to be a little bit careful of where you drop this. So if I drop it in here in the media pool, all the footage will just be dropped in here. Whereas if I drop this footage folder into this part right here where it says master, the footage folder will remain as a folder and go into here. So it's a little bit more organized, and I usually like to create my timeline on the top of the folder. So in the master part, just right click, timeline, create new timeline, or Command N. And you can just create a timeline. Once you're here, you want to make sure your timeline is in the correct size. So are you going to be editing in HD or 4K? And this is the only part you have to go into the Cut tab and go to this logo right here. You can choose Full HD, which is like 1080p, or Ultra HD, which is 4K. Or if you're doing like a vertical video for Reels or Shorts, you can make sure that you're creating it in the right portrait size, which is 1080 by 1920. So in my case, I usually just want to do 4K because all my footage is also in 4K. So I made sure that my timeline is also 4K. And now I just usually Command A to select all the footage and drop it in here. And now I have a timeline full of footage and it's 32 minutes long. So I will usually just edit down from here, whether that's cutting, speeding things up, just deleting things that I don't want anymore. But this is how I get started. In a later portion of this video, I'll show you all my keyboard shortcuts and how I make all my workflow a little bit more efficient. But basically, what you need to do is you want to cut with Command B. And if you don't want this, you can just delete. Click on this gap, delete to delete the gap. Or you can ripple delete, which is like if you have a clip like this, you can go place this cursor to wherever you want to start your clip and then ripple delete to delete the part before the cursor. Or if you want to delete after the cursor, you can ripple delete after. And I have that set to keyboard shortcuts Q and W, which I'll show you in detail later. The other important thing is this inspector tab. If you don't see this, you can click on here to hide or show. But basically, if you have a clip you want to edit by zooming in, zooming out, positioning differently, or even rotating, you can do that in this inspection tab. And there's a lot of things here, but I think transform is probably the most frequently used portion. And then for audio, you can click on the audio tab to either make the audio smaller or bigger. Another thing I use a lot is voice isolation. So I can click on here and I usually do like somewhere between 15 and 20. I feel like that sounds a little bit more natural and not overly compressed. So I might do that if I'm speaking in a loud environment, or if I didn't have a microphone and I'm just speaking into the camera, I'll just use voice isolation and it sounds pretty good. Another part I use a lot is the effects tab, and same thing, if you don't see effects, you can click on here, and if you don't have enough room, you can click on media pool to hide the media pool and just see all your effects here. So there's a bunch of different types of effects in here. Maybe if you are just beginning, some of the most frequently used ones are probably video transitions here, maybe like a cross dissolve like that, or titles. So you can create different titles. There's presets within DaVinci Resolve that you can use, or you can download from other websites and from other creators to install into here. But maybe that's a topic for another video because we just want to focus on the 101. For the next part, let's get into captions. Especially if you are a shorts or reels creator, I think captions are really important. One of the best things about CapCut that all of these desktop-based apps lacks is the captions features. And when I say captions in the video world, there's two types of captions. One is something that is baked into the video like this, and the other one is like closed captions that can be uploaded separately on some platforms like YouTube. If you are making videos for social media, I think a lot of you want to do the former one and do the baked in versions. And there are two ways to do this on DaVinci Resolve. One is with Text Plus. That is in the titles tab within the effects, and you will see it right here, Text Plus. You can drag this over here, make this longer or shorter. Let's make it a little bit longer. Here in the inspector tab, you will be able to edit the text and do a bunch of different stuff. So let's say I want to say cheers, And then you can, of course, change it to any font you want that is installed in your computer. I'm going to choose this one, and you can, of course, change the colors, make it bigger, change the tracking. There's a bunch of different settings for your text. If you want to have shadows or if you want to have outlines on your text, you want to go into shading here. And this part is a little bit complicated. I don't know why they did it like this, but you just have to know and it'll get really easy. So if you go to number 3, select element number 3, this is where the shadow is. So if you enable this, it might be a little bit hard to see here. Let me move it to like a lighter part. So you will see the shadow has been enabled, and there's a bunch of different settings for your shadow. I usually don't like the offset, so I'll just make this 0. If I want to make it glow a little bit more, I can mess with the glow settings here. And so that's how you add shadows. Let's try to add an outline. Outline is number 2. So you can enable this, and it is now in red. So I want to change this to, let's say, like a navy color. I want to change the thickness, so I'll move this over so that it's thicker. And then you can also check outside only if you want to. So yeah, that was easy. And then also, I think another thing you might want to do is like having a box behind your text. So that one is number 4. I should have gone in order. I don't know why I went 3, 2, 4. But anyways, this is the border. You can, of course, change the colors again here. So let me change it to like a whiter color. You can extend horizontally or vertically. Let's say if you have text like this, you have 2 words, you can change the properties of how this box behaves basically. So if you go into the level section, you can change it to make sure everything is like all text, like it's going below all the text, or you can do line, or you can do word. I'm not demonstrating this very well, but okay. So you can see if I do word and is not extended horizontally, then the box will cut in between words. But if I change it to line, then it will go over all the line. Hope that makes sense. I usually like to do probably line and extend it a little bit. And also you can round out the box like this. That is how I would make a caption that is legible on like social media. The problem with this method is that you have to manually type out the words, and you might be thinking you can't do this automatically like in CapCut. The answer is you can auto transcribe, but that becomes a closed caption, which is a little bit limited in how you can change the designs. In order to change the closed captions file to a text plus file, like I was using in this demonstration, I have to use a plugin from another creator called Snap Captions. I'll link Orson's video below, but he is so generous in giving this out for free, and it's very easy to use. So I highly recommend if you want to explore creating captions from auto transcription. But I won't get into too much detail in this video since this is a 101 video, but definitely check his video out if you're interested. Let's talk about keyboard shortcuts. Learning and customizing keyboard shortcuts makes editing so much faster and so much more efficient once you get the hang of it. I'll show you some of my most used keyboard shortcuts and tips and tricks that I cannot live without. To change and customize your keyboard shortcuts, you just have to go to DaVinci Resolve and go to keyboard customization. And here is where you can see what shortcuts are here and also change them if you want to. But you don't have to learn all of them. I'm going to list out some of the most used ones that I have memorized, and everything else is just pretty much optional. So the first one is plus and minus to zoom in and out. That one is in the application. The default settings are command minus and command plus, but This is such a frequently used shortcut that I don't want to use two hands all the time to do zoom in and out. So I have set this to just minus and plus. I usually like to keep the default one and just add to them. So you can just go to plus and add. Let's say I didn't have the minus here. I can just go to plus and type whatever shortcut I want. So that's how I added minus for zoom out and just plus, which is, the equal sign on the zoom in. The other very important one is Q and W, and that one is also in application trim, and it is actually called ripple and end to playhead and start to playhead. That's the one I showed you before. If you want to delete before the playhead, it's W. After the playhead, it's Q. These shortcuts were the things that were here by default, but I just added W and Q here. This is, I think, by default, but up and down arrow keys are going to previous and the next clip. So I'll show you what that looks like. So if you press up, it goes to the previous clip. If you press down, it goes to the next clip. So it's very easy. It just goes to the next cut point. So there's two ways to delete a clip. So one is just clicking on delete, and that just deletes this clip and leaves this gap, right? Another way to delete is called ripple delete. If you do shift delete, it will delete the clip and delete the gap as well in just one keystroke. So that is something I use a ton when I'm editing. And then the other thing is to cut, Command B here. Cutting is also a really frequently used action, and I do not want to do Command B all the time. Like my fingers, like Command B, Command B. That is not efficient. So that's where my MX Master 3 comes in. This is the most amazing mouse that I have ever used. And the reason why is that it has a bunch of buttons that you can customize on here. This comes with an app called Logi Options Plus, and you can customize all of these buttons to do whatever, to create like shortcuts within your mouse. And you can change how it behaves depending on an app. So it's a very powerful tool, especially as a video editor. So when I'm using DaVinci Resolve, here is what I have. The first one here on the top button is I have a keyboard shortcut when I click. So that is Command B. So when I click this button, it makes a cut. And then on these buttons on my thumb, I have it set to the arrow keys up and down. So when I press on these buttons on my right hand thumb, I can make the timeline go up and down. And on this button right here on my thumb as well, I have the shift delete, which is the ripple delete that I was talking about earlier. So I don't have to use two hands. I just have to use my right hand on my mouse to do all of these keyboard shortcuts. So I love this mouse. I highly recommend if you want to kind of level up your game. But if you don't have this mouse, that's totally fine. You can learn your own keyboard shortcuts or map it out to different things that is comfortable for you and just start editing. Hi, Editing Yuka here. I forgot to talk about how to export the video once you're done, so let me show you. Once you're done with your timeline, you want to just go to the Deliver tab. I just usually do like the default settings on here, but there's different settings here. I don't think you need to worry too much about it at this point. And now you just choose which location you want your exported videos to go to. So click on Browse. Actually, I am going to export for real because I'm actually done with this video. Oh, actually, I am not done with this video because I have to place this clip into the video. I'll just do a fake one. Okay. And now you can add to render queue, and then you have to click on render all here. And then your video will start rendering. While this is exporting, you can't really go back to the different tabs. You have to keep this page open, so just something you should know. And you can see the progress of the exporting right here. I hope this was helpful for you to get started on DaVinci Resolve. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want me to dive in a little bit deeper into a feature. In this channel, I talk about tech and creativity, so if you're into that, I would love to have you subscribed for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
I'm having the time of my life. Everything is going alright. Ooh, I just made them look twice. This is how it feels when you living that good life. I'm just living that good life. I'm just living that good.